Jam Yearbook. I'm Jim.
And I'm Matt.
We're here to take you on a journey through the years as we explore the music in our lifetime and the impact it's had on us and the world we've lived in.
Welcome to version 2015, everyone.
No.
Oh, why?
We're back in the 2010s.
Damn right.
How do you think this is going to go this week, Matt?
There are absolutely no uh-ohs here. This is going to be fun. We've had a lot of good luck in this range of years in the 2000s. And 2015 was no different. I think we're going to find stuff that we really liked, maybe not a ton of it, but it's ramping up to what we really liked in the later teens.
I hope so. But speaking of stuff that we don't like, I guess we have to start off with the Reaper and those who passed away in 2015, because we got a few of them today.
So I'll start with B.B. King. I don't know what you could say about him other than, he transcended genres and generations. You tell someone you're listening to B.B. King, and that's all you need to say. You're going to get that nod and, pursing of the lips and the silent, ooh. And he's his own superlative. You don't need to say how great he was. He just was great.
Yeah. I recall seeing him one time in a music film with U2, and they were trying to teach him chords to a song. And he just said, well, I don't know chords. I just play. And this is a man who made a career out of that and became a legend. So he deserves to be spoken about. Then we also have someone who probably meant a lot to our generation, and that's Scott Weiland. I spent a lot of time in 1992 listening to the Stone Temple Pilots' debut album, Core, like over and over again.
Great album.
Yeah. They were just as much a part of the big grunge music scene as Nirvana or Pearl Jam or Soundgarden. I think the difference was that they had a more accessible sound for metalheads, but also produced slow songs that could chart. The MTV Unplugged performance was huge in its time, and I don't think the 90s would have sounded the same without the song Plush. He was known for fighting drug addiction and having demons. Stone Temple Pilots had broken up and reformed around his tragic lifestyle. Unfortunately, as it often happens, they were having a bit of a resurgence when he was found dead of an overdose. Too many of the musicians we loved from the early 90s have left us too soon, and he was another one of them.
I'll drink to that.
Yep. And then we have Natalie Cole, someone probably you and I didn't really get into or listen to too much, but she's worth talking about this week. She grew up in an environment she referred to as being Black Kennedys. Her father was Nat King Cole, and he was a legend himself, and she was raised in a world of jazz and R&B. In the 1970s, she achieved success with This Will Be and had a resurgence in the 1980s when she covered Bruce Springsteen's Pink Cadillac. In the 90s, she revisited her father's music and had a posthumous duet with him on the song Unforgettable. Everybody knows that song. The album won 7 Grammys. But she was also a victim of drug use and blamed the use of needles for contracting hepatitis C, which eventually destroyed her kidneys and led to heart failure at the age of 65.
Then we're going to get as far away from that kind of music and go to Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an understatement to say that metal lost royalty in 2015 when Lemmy passed away. All the usual descriptors of icon, legend, badass, all of those and more can be used to describe Lemmy. Motorhead's a great metal band with just the right amount of punk energy and speed that when blended with Lemmy's overdriven bass, you can hear why Motorhead is considered to be one of the bands that shaped early thrash metal.
Yeah. Drink to them.
Definitely.
And let's move on to the music of 2015. So, Matt, there was a bit of an epiphany for me this week. There was a lot of music I hadn't paid any attention to when it came out. And when we started doing this show, all of my preconceptions would have stunted my ability to accept anything that diverged me from what I would have originally listened to. I'm still trying to decide if this was actually more an exceptional year of music, or if I'm just opening up my mind and my ears a little more now that we've done this show for a while. The clouds that we were shouting at the start of the show when we were recording 9 months ago seem to have parted a little bit, and I was seeing blue sky.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, my old way of thinking, it still rears its ugly head just about every week, and I'll have a hard time looking past, roadblocks that I've set up for myself. Because we've had good luck with the 2010s, I was pretty open to checking things out. I'm more wondering how my opinions are going to change over time. And maybe have a little buyer's remorse, after 2 or 3 listens, or maybe a few years down the road. There were a few that I really liked on first listen, But when I went back, I was already kind of questioning what I liked about it initially. Had I just had enough to drink where I was open to certain things, or it's like 1:30 in the morning, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah, there's nothing
Um,
wall with that though. If you're at a concert and you've had a few
yeah,
beers and
not at
you're
all.
getting into the music, that's what it's about sometimes. You just don't take it home with you.
That's right. I got to learn to love and appreciate that moment at the time,
Yeah, at the
and
time.
not expect it to carry with me every time I hear a certain song or
Yeah, but what I'm going to talk about now is we just talked about Lemmy and Motorhead. So we're going to start here and talk about prejudices. I had never in my life listened to two Motorhead songs in a row, ever. And I'm sorry to you as a metal fan and Sandy, who, who we'll have on the show at some point. I can't really tell you why. I have no reason. Maybe people around me just never really played a Motorhead album and I never had the exposure to it. But I put this 2015 album on and I was really impressed. I messaged you and I asked you, is this what they've always sounded like? It sounded,
yeah,
it sounded like punk rock heavy metal to me.
yeah, they've stayed true to themselves. If Lemmy likes something, he stuck with it. Bad Magic, it's classic Motorhead. I remember as a kid judging them on their album covers and like, yeah, maybe not. So it took me a few years. And then I actually listened to Ace of Spades and I had that holy shit moment. Lemmy's image, it's so strong. As soon as he starts singing Victory or Die on this one, I see his hat, the mutton chops, that Rickenbacker bass, and him singing while he's looking up at his microphone. I can't
Yeah,
imagine that was comfortable. And also can't imagine being 70 and still singing like that. That's impressive.
it
Motorhead
is.
set the pace for me for a couple days.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So Motorhead was one of my, hey Jim, check this out selections this week because we did a little bit of that this week.
Yeah, we did.
Um, yep. So one of your suggestions to me was
Whoa. Well, if we're going to volley back and forth exact opposites, we're
yeah,
going to go with Miley Cyrus and her Dead Pets. So this is an album I've been waiting to talk about for a long time. And I think you gave me a lot of side eye this week when I brought it up.
fair share.
I get it. It's Miley, it's Hannah Montana. But on this album, I kind of feel like we hear more of the real Miley than what the industry has tried to project on us. She was around 21, 22 when she recorded this with Wayne Coyne and the rest of the band, the Flaming Lips. You can really hear the influence and the music behind her. And she's definitely smoking a lot of weed and drinking with them while she's doing this.
Probably thanks to the Flaming Lips.
Oh yeah. It's kind of a coming of age album that rebels against everything she'd done before. I don't turn to this album for casual listening, but I was introduced to it a few years back and it was intriguing to me. Her record company didn't want to release it and tried to ignore it. It was on the shelf for several years. She eventually put it on her own website for free and it showed up on streaming services with no fanfare whatsoever in 2017. The biggest thing I note on this album is how different she sounds. The nasal tone, that's her signature sound, is absent. She has no twang. It makes it obvious that the commercial stuff we're hearing has a very put on voice, almost like her Hannah Montana character from her Disney days has never stopped. But on this album, we got to hear the real Miley.
Yeah, it's so hard to know what to think is the real anything anymore, especially when there's a big change like this. And it doesn't need to be real, I guess. Music is art. It's always part fiction. Dead Pets, it's obviously not something that I would expect from Miley Cyrus and probably nobody else. She may have even surprised herself with it. And yeah, I dislike Party in the USA, but it's got its audience. My opinion on Dead Pets, it's kind of in the middle. I didn't hate it by a long shot, but I didn't fall in love with it. I don't think you were expecting me to. There are a few songs that I still did the side eye to because it can sound like someone's trying a little too hard to say, I'm an adult and I'm making my own decisions now. But a lot of that is to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes and remember what it's like to be that age. And
Yeah.
you do have that little rebellious moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have to remind myself that not everybody sees the world through my eyes. But I came away thinking that some of it needs more than one listen. I can't say Pablo the Blowfish is one of those songs.
or the whatever it was, the Spank My Bush,
Spank My Bush. Yeah, what was that?
whatever it was,
Beat My Box, or what?
No,
No,
it was Bang My Box.
Bang My Box. Bang. Did we say
Yeah.
anything out of sort? No.
No, and I'm sure her parents were proud of that song.
Yeah. Well, her father recorded some pieces for this album, I think.
Yeah, he did. He worked on it with her a little bit.
Yeah. But he may not have known about Bang My Box.
No, maybe not. But I'm sure Wayne Coyne knew what he was doing when he recorded it with her.
Yeah, a lot of fucking weed.
Oh, yeah. Then there was another album that came out in that year that How to Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. This album really surprised me. I put it on and, I talk about preconceptions. I really expected to dislike it. I thought I'd get a song or two in and just turn it off without giving it a fair chance. Boy, was I wrong. My only complaint is that it's a little long, but outside of that, this album is absolutely brilliant. The lead track features the bassist Thundercat and George Clinton of Parliament Funkadelic, and it really sets the tone for the entire album. It's a marriage of funk, jazz, and hip hop blended together. There's this real life essence that flows through all of the tracks. The I Remember I Was Conflicted theme really connects them one by one. And I can understand why the next generation really got into this. As my friend Ewan said to me the day I listened to this album, Kendrick Lamar is who Kanye West thinks he is. And this album, to me, has touches of genius throughout.
It really does. I do love I didn't know that was Parliament on this. That was kind of cool. And I could hear Prince a little bit in these walls. And if rap isn't everybody's thing, I know it's not, I would still recommend people giving this album a chance. It's not what you would think about with rap. It doesn't fall into a lot of the stereotypes of the genre. And with my kids, Kendrick is definitely one of the kings right now.
I can understand that. Absolutely. So for some reason, and this is where I found Kendrick Lamar's album, I was looking through the end of the year rankings on albums. I went through a lot of top 10 lists, but I went through probably about 20 different websites searching and just looking from the top 50 down and finding these common threads that were there. And Kendrick Lamar, on a lot of them, even if the websites came from different source material, was in the top 5 or number 1. But another album that kind of surprised me along the way was Carly Rae Jepsen. I'm like, really?
Really?
Yeah, the Call Me Maybe singer. I knew she had a hit with I Really, 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 Really Like You.
You can stop anytime.
Yeah, I'll stop right there. I didn't really like that song, and I'm sure I annoyed somebody right now other than you just saying that. But I decided to give it a shot. I put the album on, and I could understand why it was liked. It's not an album I'm going to race back to and listen to again, but it had that late 80s, early 90s pop appeal. I'll admit, I caught myself humming one of the hooks about 10 minutes later after I'd stopped listening to it. I walked into the store, headphones off, and I'm shopping, and I realized the tune that's running through my head was the Carly Rae Jepsen song that I was just listening to before I walked in. So I give that album credit for that. And I'll also give credit to the song off the album called All That. It has that vintage slow jam feel, like the lost 80s wedding song.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely hear that now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I didn't think of that before. This was a homework assignment from you to me, and it wasn't half bad. Apparently, one way to get me to listen to something new is to say it has an 80s sound. It really did have an 80s, early 90s pop sound, but it doesn't have the sound hang-ups. It does have a really good production sound to it. And I was getting Janet Jackson vibes and a little whispers of Prince here and there. Will I ever listen again? I don't know. Maybe if we revisit 2015, but I came away thinking, hey, you know what? I'm kind of glad I listened to that.
Yeah.
It was a good listen.
I'm proud of the fact that I was able to suggest Miley Cyrus and Carly Rae Jepsen, and you went and listened this week.
Hey, I would listen to Carly Rae over Miley.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got me curious about these top 10 lists, so I checked into them too, and I saw probably the same familiar names that you were getting. But I've listened to other albums, and those experiences kept me away. I've lost track of how many Sufjan Stevens records I've tried. His name keeps coming up year after year, but I am done trying. Same with Slater and Kinney. They're kind of getting to that point too. I remember listening to the Grimes record for another version. I can't remember what it was, but it was quite a while ago. And I didn't hate it. And we kind of were like, yeah, it wasn't what we were expecting. I must have been in a good mood that day. It was exactly what I was expecting when I listened to it this week. And the top 10 list started me thinking that 2015, this is kind of a shit year. but I know deep down it wasn't,
Yeah,
because once you get outside those top 10 lists, for me, that's where all the gold is.
but I found Kendrick at the top. It's so,
True.
there he was. And I had that same reaction. For some reason, some of the things I was reading that seemed to hold common thread from the different sources prompted me to probably listen to some of these albums in the top 10, when normally I would have been exploring in a very different way, because I know the indie stuff you and I prefer would be in that back 20, and not necessarily in the top. So
Yep.
I'm glad actually that I thought, wait a minute, why am I seeing this Kendrick Lamar? Why do I keep seeing Carly Rae? Bjork has an album that was there. You talk about Grimes.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
The Bjork was, you got to be really into Bjork though to get into that though.
You do. So before everybody goes out and listens to that and Matt says it's good, be ready for Bjork.
Yeah, it's Bjork. So don't hesitate in the future to recommend those, Carly Rae or Miley, because I do need to be challenged to open up my ears to things that I normally don't listen to, because I can miss something. And Miley, it was long, just like Kendrick. It was a long goddamn album. It took me,
there's some
it took me
long
3
albums.
sessions to get through it. But in the end, I'm like, I only lost an hour and a half of my time, overall. And I'm weird about lists like this too, these top 10s. I say I don't care, but in a way I do. It's more about caring after the fact. When I can find a band like Alabama Shakes, I find them on my own, and it just happens to align with chart success. It makes me kind of feel not so old and out of touch. Like I'm not being that grumpy guy. It's like, oh no, I can find great music on my own. I found out I wasn't the only one that was blown away by Brittany Howard's voice. There's so much power and emotion there.
Oh yeah.
And this album, it was a departure from their first one, which was a little more blues oriented, but it was great. It just had some more modern touches. It was really good album. So another one, getting back to our tit for tat here.
Here's the volley. Here it comes.
I said tit, everybody. In our back and forth recommendations, I gave you Kid Cudi, Speeding Bullet to Heaven. And it wasn't until you texted about Kendrick Lamar that I decided to, let me see what you think of this, because you were probably thinking, oh crap, another rap album. And it's not rap. In Kendrick and Cudi, I can't think of one without thinking of the other, because these are like the top 5 of what my kids listen to. I hear them so much around my house. Kid Cudi he's come up in a couple versions now, and I can't recommend him enough. This album here, it might be one of the most 90s alt grunge sounding albums I've heard in a long time. It even has Beavis and Butthead skits parsed in between the songs. It's unpolished. It's full of angst. In 2020, Cudi said this album was a cry for help, and you can tell when you listen to it. It's beautifully dark. You mentioned it was something you could see Nirvana doing when we were texting back and forth. It's not heavy like that, but there's just a mood and the obvious angst. It's not a feel-good album, and at the end, I felt like I was his therapist or a bartender. It's like, holy shit, now I need my own work. It's heavy, but it's really good.
You said tit.
Yeah. Tit.
I'm really glad I took the time to listen to this album. I'll admit right away, it might not be something that I'm able to go back and revisit again for a long time. You know those books or movies that you get to the end of and you think, I liked that, but that's really fucked up.
Yeah, like kids.
Yeah, this album falls into that category for me. You can really hear the inner demons coming out in the music. That very first bit where he's hanging off the edge of the cliff and singing about that,
It's a metaphor and it's real.
yeah, in
Yeah.
that album. And I think some of the songs in this are kind of, I think it's improv. Like he's had a little too many drinks or drugs and he's in a studio with a lot of equipment around. And if you've ever walked into a room and just picked up a guitar and started playing and making up lyrics on the spot, I think there's some of that happening. So he was really capturing the essence of his being, like what he was feeling in that exact moment, and then giving it to everyone. He even ventures into the idea of self-medicating his depression with mushrooms in the album. I think that Beavis and Butthead kind of serve as the inner voices in his head in a certain way.
Oh yeah.
When
Yeah,
you
I
hear
hear
them
that.
talking back and forth. I really like the fact that they, Beavis and Butthead declare that punk's not dead. And
Yeah.
he brings them in to talk about it. Did they get Mike Judge to perform on this album? Do you know if that's him, or does he know how to do those impersonations? I'd love to find that out.
Oh, that's got to be Mike Judge.
Yeah, it sounds too much like him,
That
doesn't it?
has to be.
Yeah.
I guess that we should have researched that
No,
before.
that's okay. That's okay.
But it sounds like it.
Yeah, but I mean, he would probably still have to get the rights for that to be in the album, and it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would recommend Kid Cudi to everybody. Just check him out. He's got a great voice. And he's talented. He's got a message.
But this album, it's kind of like it has a mission from beginning to end with a lot of emotional layering in it.
Yep.
And
I hope he felt better after he was done.
I hope so too. I hope he got whatever he needed to out of his system. And I think he did, because we've heard him produce some interesting music since 2015.
Oh yeah, great stuff from Kid Cudi. Check him out, everyone. So I'm gonna go,
here's the volley.
Here's the volley. Well, I think we're done volleying homework assignments back and forth, because this was kind of an add-on. I don't think I really recommended you listen to this stuff, but you could have, because it was really good. We've kind of had this silent agreement, gentleman's agreement, whatever, to not talk about country music. I think it's like a mutual, on both of our parts.
Yeah, after like 1985, we've been done with it for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. But one name popped up in the list that I hadn't heard in forever: the Mavericks. They don't fit in with what you might think of modern country music. There's some Americana and Tex-Mex aspects to their stuff, and they kind of fitted with Texas Tornadoes, Los Lobos kind of music. And I had a real struggle keeping them out of my 5 this week. I put Stories We Could Tell in right off, but then I fell for the horns and All Night Long. And then as I kept listening to more of this week, I just found other songs I liked better. So I'll give the Mavericks a strong honorable mention from me.
Okay. Yep.
And then there was Dwight Yoakam, Secondhand Heart. I think I might be a Dwight Yoakam fan.
Oh,
this is not the first record of his that I really, really like. There are songs on here I could hear Tom Petty doing. There's a good rock backbone on this album. It's really good.
Dwight Yoakam has a lot of respect for me, so I understand that.
Hell yeah.
I haven't listened to him probably since the 90s, so I'll go check that out, because
check out Secondhand Heart. It's a really good album.
But you did mention the Mavericks, like you had them in your 5 early on, and we trade these back and forth so that we can listen to each other's songs. And they're straight up what I would expect for you to like for a country music band. That kind of Texarkana sound going on a little bit in there.
Yeah, it's happy, it's poppy, it's upbeat. It's party. It's kind of like party music.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, if you want to kill a party. Finally, the last bit of research I did was Tame Impala.
Shit, you're going to kill the show.
That name says it all. Tame. You actually text that back to me too.
I did.
You're like, it's all in the name Tame. It's not bad music, but there really isn't much here to get excited about at the same time. It sounds like background music for a pretentious vegan restaurant. I eat vegan food, so I can say that. I'm not vegan, but I do enjoy all kinds of different food. It's the kind of music you put on because you need noise while you're driving, but you don't really feel like listening to anything.
Yeah.
It's landscape music, and that's about it. And I'm okay with that, but it's not something that I'm going to reach for. And it's very popular. People really like this.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
I keep trying to decide how my head would transpose this live. Is it going to be boring if I see them in concert? Would I be nodding my head while sipping my glass of red wine? I'm sure some people get something out of this, and maybe it's over my head. It just sounds like 1980s Grand Theft Auto soundtrack theme over and over again, but without the cool 80s hits. I'm okay with it, but it just isn't great.
No, you said it perfectly. It's not great. It's just boring. I listened to the whole album and I don't know. I lost track of how many times you know, those moments when you're driving on a long drive and you're like, whoa, how did I get here? You know, I lost track of how many moments with this album where I'm like, what am I doing? You know, it's like I completely spaced out. Am I even doing anything? This is just going into my ears and doing nothing for me. You know, I keep trying with this damn band and they fail me every time. Oh my God. And I don't even know what I'm looking for with them. Obviously, it's not what they're giving me. Listening, I feel like I was trapped in an 80s keyboard hell. They've like, you know, we've already said they've got their audience. This album, it debuted at number 3 in the UK and number 4 in the US.
Wow.
Yeah, and number 1 in Australia, which I'd expect. They're an Australian band. And I think I keep expecting King Gizzard from them. But they're as far away from that as you can get. And when Rolling Stone came out with their 500 greatest albums of all time in 2020, this album, Currents, was number 382.
Well, we know what we feel about those lists.
Yeah, this is confirmation that it's bullshit.
I'm sure we could go through, you know, 383 to 500 and find loads of albums that we would think were better than that. So I'm fine with that. And maybe they would be too. They're getting props for being popular right now. And like I said, I think the Grand Theft Auto effect has kicked in, and that's why Tame Impala is hanging around.
Yeah, and I would expect this level of popularity if maybe they were giving something original, but I don't hear anything that I can't get somewhere else.
No, I'm not either. Not either.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of original, you brought some originality back to our 5 this week, and it's time for us to now head in that direction. So we need to go to our 5. Yeah. Here we are, 2015. Matt, this is your year. You picked 2015. Yes. So you get to go first.
Yay.
What are you going to bring to us? Because there are some good songs in 2015, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to start out with La Butcherettes and Shave the Pride. There is a raw energy on this album that really took me for a ride. It travels through different rock genres a bit. I got some 80s sounds. I got some new wave-ish sounds. And boom, right out of the gates with this punky song, Shave the Pride. Terry Genderbender gives me Ann Wilson vibes with the way she attacks singing. It is so ballsy. I love her singing.
Yeah, this is a good song. This sounded to me like the punk that you grew up on. Is that a correct statement? Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. Just better sounding, obviously.
Yeah, and much, much more than the pop punk stuff that we hear today.
Yeah.
I really liked it a lot. Yeah, like I said, good stuff.
All right. What is your first song?
My first song is going to be a Modest Mouse song. Not your favorite band, not my favorite band, but I like this song quite a bit. Like I've said on previous episodes, I don't often re-listen to a song immediately after it plays. I think I talked about it recently. I hear a song, I move on. I have a hard time going back and listening to something over and over again. But for a short time, this song was one of those strange exceptions. They do happen. I don't really know what it is about it, to be honest. You know, like you have those songs that you need to hear. You have that strange craving. And this was one of them for me. I couldn't tell you what style of rock it is. It kind of has its own sound with a cool swing going on, but I like the lyrics. To me, everything about it is just original, but it still has this major hook.
Yeah, Modest Mouse. They're one of those bands that I have a hard time listening to. And the number one thing that has a chance of capturing my attention is singability. I haven't heard a Modest Mouse song yet that makes me feel like I want to sing. I'm still waiting for that one song that drags me in. So here's the second part of that. I kind of have a two-part approach with this song. I was walking down the hall at work the other day, and next thing I know, I'm going, I'm like, son of a bitch. Now I want to hear that song.
We're all going.
Right? I disproved my own theory. Right? Walking, just singing. It just popped into my head. Yeah, this is a really cool song. I liked it a lot.
It's good. All right. So what's your number 2? What do you got?
I'm going to go with C6 Steve and Bring It On.
Yeah.
There have been a few versions where I've wanted to bring C6 Steve into my 5, at least, or talk about in the show. I'm glad I was patient because some of his stuff, it falls a little flat on the studio albums. His live versions of stuff has a better energy and flow to it. This one does a good job of capturing that live essence he's got. It's a catchy blues riff. It's like having ZZ Top around without having to hear ZZ Top again.
Yeah, I get that. This is a good song. I like C6 Steve. He rose to fame over here in the UK after being on an episode of Jules Holland.
Oh my God. I think that's where I first saw him too.
Yeah, this is a good song. I remember an older friend of mine from over here bringing him up to me sometime around 2008. But Matt, here we go. I'm going to give you a little side eye. Do it. You were questioning the authenticity of Miley being herself earlier in the episode on her Dead Pets album. Well, here's an example of someone who has a very confusing narrative about his past that was definitely trying to sell albums.
So you're saying he's a politician then?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He exaggerated about his age. I put finger quotes up there for people who can't.
So did I every weekend growing up, going up to the Del Bar.
Yeah, but you didn't say that you were 65 when you were 55. There's a difference there.
True.
It's, when you're 18, you're trying to buy beer in the States. You're not exaggerating about your age. You're lying.
Shit, when you're 16, you're trying to buy beer.
Yeah, it's not uncommon in show business. I get it. When I moved here, I was performing a bit still. I told audiences I was from New York, not Vermont. I mean, who's going to go see a guy from Vermont? New York does sound more exciting. It sounds like show business. But also when I moved here, I could see New York, the Adirondack Mountains right out of the window from my house. And not in a Sarah Palin, Alaska kind of way. I can see Russia from here. Don't get me wrong. I love having this song on the playlist. So I'm not criticizing the song itself. I just need to call out the perception that this is 100% authentic as it might be. Because there's some exaggeration that's gone on with him as well.
Oh, come on. Did I say anything about his authenticity? I just like the groove of the song. I already said it. Early in the episode. Art is part fiction. Right?
Wait a minute though.
Does anyone think Bruce Springsteen or Bob Dylan lived all those lives in their songs? No. Ooh, he lied in his age.
This is not about you saying C6 Steve is authentic. Here I am. This is about you earlier in the episode saying, are we getting the real Miley Cyrus or not? And that's why I brought this.
No, I said it's hard to tell if we're getting the real anything.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm a politician, right?
Are you exaggerating?
Just like a politician, Jim. You were trying to twist my words.
I think you're exaggerating.
No, not at all. Yeah. Who gives a shit? He lied about his age. We've already gone over that comedy bit. I've never read one article about the guy. I just dig his music. There's quite a bit of music. I like that. You could question the authenticity about, but that's a huge conversation, right? What's authentic? Are we talking performance, writing? Is reinventing yourself authentic or trend chasing? I mean, we could have that conversation forever.
Oh yeah, we could. Absolutely.
All right. And enough of this. We let Miley Cyrus take up too much of our time. What is your second song?
My second song is going to be Wolf Alice and the song Bros. This band has a great backstory. They started out as an acoustic duo. Ellie Roswell and Joff Odie were playing at an open mic in 2010. They were just a folk duo. A touring band came through and saw the performance and invited them to an opening slot. They shifted to a rock sound, and fast forward 5 years later, they'd be on a major label, charting in the USA alternative charts, and getting nominated for a Grammy. I'll have to make an admission here. They originally released this single in 2013, but they included it on the 2015 album that went worldwide. So I thought now is the best time to share it. Such a good band. Bros is just a great alternative rock song.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit of a throwback too. And you know what was missing from a lot of the music I was listening to this week? Something that we found challenging in this era in previous versions, echo.
Yeah.
But here it is in this song. But they used it right. There's enough space with all the other instruments that's going on where it's effective and it's not fighting for its spot. And it doesn't make the singing hard to understand. It just really enhances everything. It makes everything so smooth and dreamy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good song. I'm glad you're putting it on the list this week.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So you bring your next song to us. What is your third song?
My third song is going to be Nathaniel Rateliff in the Night Sweats with SOB.
Oh, yeah.
Hands down, my favorite album of 2015. Oh, man, if it was a cassette, I would have wore it out. Hearing this kind of roots rock and soul, man, in 2015, it was like finding treasure. You don't find this kind of music every day. And what's better is that I didn't hear a whole lot of copycat bands coming out after the success it had.
This entire album's great. This song is their most played song on Spotify. It's the biggest song of their career. And it makes me so happy because to me, it kind of has a real throwback to that Van Morrison sound. It's authentic music. When you clap your hands at the start of the song and then it kicks in, it actually gets faster. And to me, this is something that's very real. It's not something that's created with a metronome in a studio. There's ebb and flow, and it allows the song to have different feel from beginning to end. And even that clapping bit, it feels like you're in the town hall with the best band you're ever going to see come through in your town. And yeah, man, just
that kind of band where you're not gonna dance to it. You're just gonna sit there and go, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yeah, and stomp your feet along with them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
definitely. Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome.
All right. So what is your next song?
My third song is going to be The Mountain Goats. And the song is The Legend of Chavo Guerrero. If I'd heard this song when I was 11, it would have become my favorite song of all time. Hands down. This is almost a Weird Al song.
It kind of is. Yeah, you're right.
I loved wrestling as a kid, and the narrative of this song was just so damn cool to me. Yeah. I think I'm venturing a little bit into your indie zone with the instrumentation and everything going on with this one. So
come on in. There's more room, Jim.
Yeah. So I'd be surprised if people listen to the playlist and guessed I was the one who added it. But it's a really fun song. And I from here forward, I'll always add this to any playlist. The Legend of Chavo Guerrero. Go listen to it, people.
Oh, yeah. Please listen. Are we in the 90s? This sounds like a little time capsule.
I think we might be. It has that Bare Naked Ladies feel to it.
Oh, my God. I thought the same thing. I should trust my ears more because I was going to text you that. Like, well, maybe it's just a weird thing with my head because it's kind of a little specific Bare Naked Ladies sound. I, too, loved wrestling growing up. And I also love a good story in my songs. I made a playlist for 2015 that included our 5 songs and a bunch of just kind of like random stuff. Like, oh yeah, let me put this on. Let me put this on. Then I went outside and I was using the snowblower because we got some snow, cleaning the driveway. I had never heard Mountain Goats before either. And I was listening while I was snow blowing and this came on and it made me smile. And I did exactly what you thought. I'm like, wait a second. Is this a me song or a Jim song? I had no idea. It's a good song.
That's awesome. I'm glad you like it.
Really fun. Really
good
fun
stuff. All right. Number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me is Lord Huron and The Night We Met. It doesn't need to go into the why or the how or whose fault it is. The relationship's over and he's sad. You know, the refrain, I had all and then most of you, some and now none of you. It's sung in these descending notes that kind of paint a portrait of the relationship kind of growing cold over time. And he wishes he could start all over again. But it's just I like Lord Huron. They kind of sit in the soundscape of Father John Misty with
Mhm.
me, minus the horns and the orchestration, but there's a similar vocal quality, and I found them at the same time, so they're kind of linked in my head. But yeah, I've got a thing for Lord Huron. This is a really good song.
When I first listened to it, I was in the wrong mindset. I was on a bus and it just didn't hit me the right way. And
Mm.
then I decided to go back to it. I was, walking to work one day and it hit me and I felt it more and I understood why it meant so much to so many people. Can you imagine how many mixtapes it would have been on back in the day
Oh,
when we were kids?
if you had broken up with somebody, yeah, you would
Yeah.
have listened this on an endless loop.
It's a beautiful, I just got dumped song without any blame or angst. And I'm happy that I became familiar with it this week.
I do like that it's not a blame placing song. Some relationships fall apart. It's nobody's fault.
Mhm.
There can be times when, everybody's got a part in the demise of a relationship.
And
But
that's
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yep, it's a really good song.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your number 3?
No, it's number
Number
4.
3,
Yeah.
number
Yeah. We're number
4.
4. I'm surprised probably just as much as you are by this. It is Kendrick Lamar's King Kunta. I love this song. Wow. You said it to me when we were chatting earlier this week. I had my breakthrough with modern hip hop. This was it right here in this episode 2015. This was an easy song to break me, right into it. It bounces, it flows, but it still has all those modern elements. We talked a lot about this album, but I think there's one more key thing going on here. It's not full of 808s. The instrumental feels real and not pushed. I thought I was taking a risk when I listened to this album preparing for 2015, but instead I found a new favorite hip hop album to add to the
Ooh,
list. And this
wow.
song is my current favorite song from it. But I'll place a disclaimer on that. With an album like this, that can always change.
Oh yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how your opinion changes over time after a few listens or a few years go by. But you picked the right song right now. It is so smooth. And a lot of new rap and hip hop I hear, the emphasis seems to be with the beat in the song, and everything else is secondary. Even when you talk to people, it's like, oh man, that's a sick beat. It's like
Yeah.
the song is so much more than the beat. If that's all you got, then just take everything else out and groove to that.
Mm-hmm.
But this song's got a great balance. It bounces. His flow is cool. People should really check this song out. Don't wait for it to come around the playlist though, because you may never hear it. Just go to Spotify or whatever. Go, or maybe your kids have it. Go listen to this
Yeah.
song by Kendrick Lamar. King Kunta, great song.
Good song. All right, Matt, you get to wrap up your 5 now. What is your 5th choice?
My 5th choice, we are going out on a high note with lots of energy from Clutch and X-Ray Visions. I've passingly talked about Clutch a few times, and Motorhead really wanted me to hear loud guitars this week. That's really what I wanted to hear. Clutch has a bluesy background to their sound, no matter how loud it gets. Neil Fallon has one of those voices. It just grabs my attention. He is a freaking savage on that microphone. This album has a great flow to it. It's got all the peaks and valleys that I like, and X-Ray Visions properly starts the album off. It just grabs your attention. And I really love the astrology introductions he does for the band members in the breakdown. Clutch rocks. All while looking like a bunch of dads at a pool party.
Yeah, they do. This sounds just like the kind of music I expect you to bring to the show. Like it's the metal I hear Matt listening to today. It's not aggressive. It just rocks.
Yeah.
It sits right in the driver's seat and then blasts off like you punched nitro.
Yeah.
And I like the band intro part. When it came on, I laughed out loud. I was like, this is great.
And on the microphone.
Yeah, and on the vein. It made the song fun and made it step outside of itself, almost breaking a fourth wall. Like awesome stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, great.
Clutch does a lot of that stuff where they don't take themselves seriously. The music,
Yeah,
yes, but not themselves.
yeah, I like that. That's good.
All
My
right, Jim,
turn.
what are you going to round up your 5 with?
Well, how can I bring you to 2015 and put you through all that Miley Cyrus without wrapping it up with the song off her Dead Pets album?
You goddamn asshole.
I know. It's called Twinkle Song. All right, Matt, I'm going to admit.
Tinkle
No,
song?
no, 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 no.
No.
Come on. Let me get on with this. I'm going to admit this is where I trolled you a little bit this week. When I was doing my Maroon 5 show, one of my guests picked this album. And I was really intrigued by it, but it's not something I really think I'd go back to listening to again. But I just couldn't wait to get to 2015 to have you share my experience of having to listen to it. So I talked it up a lot in the chat this week.
Son of a bitch.
You may have noticed I agreed with a lot of your reactions and sentiments.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You tried to push him back on me and said, "Oh, you're being closed-minded."
No, I never said that. There's not a
Yes.
single point in there. You might have felt that way. But
No,
if I could have
that's-
said,
I remember
if
one
I-
of the texts exactly was like, "That's the kind of reaction I'd expect out of you." How am I supposed to take that?
What am I, your wife? Come on. If this could have been an April Fool's joke, I would have done that to you. So,
I accept
sorry.
your apology.
but I'm not sorry. I do probably owe you that hour and a half of your life back. You talked about it deservedly.
Damn right you do.
But not this song. And I'm not going to keep going on about Miley Cyrus beyond this show. This is probably the first and last time I'll ever pay this much attention to her. Getting to this song is tough. It's a long album.
Oh,
and
it's
this
a
is the
fucking slog.
last song on the album. But I love the lyrics and the emotion in it. I feel like these emotions in this song are really hers. It's just Miley and a piano, and that's it. I realize I'm not going to prompt many people to go out and run to it and listen to it. There's something that's kind of Bowie-esque about it that I really enjoy, how he would close an album. But if the first few tracks aren't your thing, which I would completely understand, just stop the album, go straight to the last track, and give this song, Twinkle Song, an honest listen. And you will hear the real voice of Miley Cyrus.
That we know. We're still in this authenticity argument. So
Yeah, well,
you have no idea how hard it was to be nice.
C-Stick Steve probably has an Australian accent.
Oh, that would be so fucking funny if he did. You go watch the video for that song, I think, and he's surfing.
Yeah, no.
It's like, wait, are you from Louisiana? What's going on here? I was a little confused about what you were trying to get me to see. You were going on and on about how she sounded different. And you're right. She does. Judgment aside about, authenticity. We're just having fun. We're fucking poking fun at each other. But more like what you thought was your true voice. And it could be. You didn't come right out and say you liked it, but you were practically shaming me into listening to it. With the amount of text we were exchanging, I decided Miley Cyrus was not the hill I was going to die on.
And I'm happy.
Yeah,
and I'm fine with that. I understand completely.
Exactly.
Nor am I.
Yeah, and you succeeded.
But I do think it's one of those albums that, as people who study and listen to music, you have to actually take that one in and digest it because of
I agree
what
with you.
she has done to impact the fabric of music in the past 10 to 15 years.
I agree with you because there is a place for everybody's music life to have something experimental in it.
Yeah. She had a song maybe 2 or 3 years ago where she sang with Stevie Nicks that kind of ripped off and sounded like Edge of 17. And she sang like it. And she was singing like Stevie Nicks on the song. And then Stevie Nicks came in and sang with her and sang on the song. And it's great that she can sound like that. But I just want people to know that's not what she sounds like. Yeah. Go listen to this song and you will hear the real Miley Cyrus. And it's kind of a shame that she can't live her life being herself. And I kind of feel bad about that, but she grew up, here we go, a Disney kid. There we go, back to that phrase.
You know what? Yeah, Disney, but I think she's done a lot to rehab her image away from that. I got a chance. It wasn't my choice, but we ended up watching a lot of her New Year's Eve special with Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I came away with going, you know what? She's a good entertainer.
Oh, she's very talented.
Very talented. Great energy. I got to see David Byrne sing with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, Dolly Parton. Yeah, I came away with going, you know what? Hey, I'm kind of glad I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? She's doing her. She's a performer. What else is she gonna do?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
She's a good performer. Wow.
So let's
did we
stop
find?
talking
Did we
about
found
Miley Cyrus.
Miley
We're
Cyrus
done.
is taking up
We're
too
done.
much of our time.
All right, let's get to the audience poll and get out of here.
This is Jim's fault. This is Jim's fault.
Just don't go listen to Bang Me Box. I did not recommend that song to anybody.
Spank My Bush, whatever you were calling it.
Let's get on to the audience poll.
Yeah.
We've got the poll winners this week. They're very interesting and not surprising, in my opinion. So do you want me to start?
Go ahead.
All right.
Wait, no, I'm going to start.
Okay.
I'm going to start. Wait, no, hold on. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fuck. I lose either way. So I'm going to start because it's Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars with Uptown Funk. Great song. I get a lot of Prince energy out of this. That's why I wanted to say this song.
Yeah. You know, not just Prince, but the time.
Yeah, you're so right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
right.
It really has that Morris Day in the Time feel. After that, we have Hello. Well, no, not Lionel
Is it
Richie,
me
the Adele
you're
version.
looking for?
No, it's not. I'm looking for Adele, the Adele song.
Adele?
And I'm sure if she heard this
Adele?
podcast, which she never would,
Bueller?
she would just absolutely hate us for that.
Yeah, she
but
would.
there we go. There's, it's not a bad song. I like it.
it's not.
Adele has her thing and her audience. I don't have any problem with what she does.
No, and she's almost kind of like a throwback. Really?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she
kind
is
of like that vocalist.
Modern day Barbara Streisand, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, come on, man. I'm just giving you shit.
I think that's a good comparison.
No, it is. I was just gonna make a Celine Dion joke, and it was gonna fall flat. I could hear it in my head falling flat, so I just pulled the cord. Okay, the third song we're gonna add from the poll is Little Mix and Black Magic.
Did you even listen to this song?
Nope, I have no idea what the song is.
I actually sent you a message that this might wind up in my 5 because it is a great girl band song. Like it is.
I missed that text. I would have listened to it if you texted me, obviously.
Yeah, no, it's a fun song. It's good. So I'm not surprised it wound up there. Little Mix is one of those bands, just like One Direction, that got assembled on one of the talent shows over
or something.
Yeah. So it was all contestants up against each other. And then they recognized they'd work better together and they wound up becoming a phenom in the chart. So good song. So the next song is 21 Pilots Stressed Out. And thank you, Julie Ricker, for adding this to the list.
Thank you, Julie.
I can relate to this song. When I was in retail in 2015, this song was a hit on the radio, and I almost wanted to set my alarm clock to the verse, "Wake up, you need to make money."
No shit. Yeah.
It was so fitting for me. So, a good song. Glad to have it there. What do we have next?
All right. So obviously more times than not, we've been adding 6 songs because we have a tie. We're going to have to start flipping a coin here pretty soon. But one of those ones that tied was Ellie Goulding in Love Me Like You Do.
Do you know this song is from 50 Shades of Grey?
No, I didn't listen to it.
It is. So, well, you wouldn't know that from listening to the song.
Nope.
But how Love Me Like You Do, and it's from 50 Shades of Grey, where it was all about like tying up and dominating.
Sex and
it's
not Love Me Do. It's Love Me Like You Do.
And then the next one, number 6. Well, come on, Matt. This is us. We're bass players.
Yeah.
It's all about that bass. It's all about that bass. All about that
treble.
bass.
No more treble.
No treble. No treble.
Yeah, I'm not surprised this song gets added. This was a pretty big song in the day.
It was huge. So there we go. That is 2015 done. Not as bad as we thought it was going to be.
Oh, hell no. In a nutshell, 2015 was another solid year from the teens, right?
Yeah, it was. It was
solid. It's building. Because remember 2017, 18, all those years, we had some gold that we found.
Yeah, it's nice to find some good music back in these years. So we are done covering years for the next show, and instead we are going to get in the way back machine, because we're kind of a couple of softies, and we're going to do a Valentine's Day show.
Wah, wah, wah.
I mean, talk about selling out. You and I are the first two guys to be like, everything is commercial.
Yeah,
and then we're
there's
the first
no
guys to be like,
authenticity here.
we're the first guys to be like, here's our Thanksgiving show.
Yeah.
Here's our Christmas show. Here's our Valentine's show.
We
But
got
it
flags
gives
to
us-
plant, people, and we're gonna do it.
We are, because it gives us an excuse to talk about different music, and
That's
that's why
right.
it matters.
That's right.
So we are going to do a show based all around 1967 and the Summer of Love.
Oh, can't you just feel it?
This is all we have been waiting for.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I will say goodbye to everybody. Are you good with that?
Yes. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening, tuning in, all of that. Thank you for taking part in the poll on the Facebook page. We really appreciate that. That's how we know what you guys want us to talk about too. So thank you.
Yeah, everybody, thank you from myself. And we're so happy that you're tuning in each week and listening to what we're doing. And we hope we're putting something together for you that you're really enjoying. We know we switched stuff up from including your songs to not including them when we tell you about them on the Facebook page and when we don't. If there's a way that you prefer, let us know, please.
Yeah, because just like a playlist, this podcast it's alive. It's going to change.
It is. But what's coming next is outside of our lifetime. We're going to 1967 and the Summer of Love. So everybody get their flower power ready. And until then, Matt, say goodnight.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the Jam Yearbook.
We will see you soon. Peace, love, and podcast.
Peace.